Welcome to this very special episode of Nuki Podcast. I'm your host, Spani, and I'm here with my co-host,
Theo.
Uncle T. These days go by Papa Theo.
No, I'll stick with Uncle T. With Uncle T.
How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well.
It's been a while.
It's been a while, yes, for sure.
Yeah, but we are back today.
Yeah, let's get jump right into it. Today we are here with a special guest. Somebody I don't know how I can introduce him, but I'm going to introduce him. He's a man with many hats. It's someone I call a big brother, someone who we call a mentor, a coach.
Yes.
It is one of the few in this community, especially our African community, who has impacted the life of many young men and women continue to do a lot of work in the community. Is someone who has been recognized highly in the community by the state, I can say, of Colorado, by some of the elected officials of this community. Is the one and only big brother Yoal Kidane.
The last name.
You destroyed that last name, but it's all good.
I did?
No, you're good. Gabra Mescal. Can you try that? You got it. Gabra Mescal.
Gabra Mescal.
Yes, sir.
What does that mean?
The first part, Gabra, is like a common name that's given in Eastern Africa, particularly in Eritrea and Ethiopia. The second part, Mescal, means cross.
Okay. Oh, well, let's stick with Yoal.
We're going to practice it.
We're going to practice. Yeah, we're going to stick
It's
with
Yoal with a Y, not a J.
Yes,
That's very interesting.
Yes, sir, with
Nice.
a Y.
It's been a while, sir. How are you?
It has been a long while. Thank you for that introduction. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And as you asked me how I am, I want to start off by just saying it's really good to be here in this space. It's good to see both of y'all co-hosting
Yes.
and spending time with your passions. I'm sure there's a lot going on in your own personal lives and at home and all of that. So it's good to hear. It's good to see that you guys are spending time with your passions, doing this thing.
Thank you so much.
I'm doing good. To answer your question directly,
Yeah.
that's it for me today. I'm doing good. It's been a lot, but I'm doing good today.
Good to hear.
Yes, sir.
Good to hear. Uncle T.
Yeah, so going back to what Spani said, he's done a lot of great things. Especially he has made an impact on our lives as refugees here in the U.S. or here in Colorado.
Yes.
I don't know if Spani wanna jump right into it or if you wanna go, maybe a background check on you, like where you from, how you end up here, when, and
yeah.
But mostly, I would love to know how did you end up? Because the first time we met you, many of us, it was at the African Community Center.
That's right.
How did you end up there?
I could tell you that story for sure. But I do want to take just a short time. You guys asked me how I was, but I do want to spend some time. How are you guys doing today? Before I get to that,
Today,
it's only fair that I ask as well.
Hey, great. We are doing great. God is blessing us. We are alive. Everybody's good. I can say overall we are doing great.
That's good.
Every day's a blessing.
That's good, man.
Yes, sir.
yeah, I'm very grateful to be here. Excuse me. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be here, to see another day, to see family members, friends. So I'm very, very grateful today. Can't complain, really.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. And to answer your question, Theo, there, how did I end up at African Community Center? And even going off of the words that you guys just shared there on how your day was, I think at the age of about 20, reaching about 21 at that time, it was my last year in college at the University of Denver that I learned about a place called the African Community Center here in Denver, Colorado. And at that time, as a 20-year-old, I actually come back from studying abroad in South Africa for a 6-month period, after which I was able to visit the country where I was born and raised. I came here to the U.S. at the age of 12, attended Denver Public Schools, Merrill Middle School as English second language learner, and then graduated from South High School. In 2000. Thank you.
Another South alumni.
Right.
But with him was decades ago.
Decades ago, man. Hey, don't make
no, even us though. Even we graduate. It's been 11 years now.
And that's the thing I also wanted to speak about is just how time flies, you know?
Yeah.
It's amazing that the three of us, we've known each other for such a long time.
Yeah.
I think that extends back to maybe, I don't know, what years was that?
2008. That's when
it was 2008.
2008.
My goodness, that's when you all resettled.
Yes.
Yeah. So how I got to ACC and how I got to meet both of you was in my last year of college, 2007, after I studied abroad in South Africa, after I visited Eritrea, where I was born and raised for a month period. I came back directly for my last 2 quarters at the University of Denver. And I remember in January of 2007 is when I learned from a professor about the African Community Center, about refugees resettling to the state of Colorado and how this organization was helping. And from that, I got to learn about the after-school program at the African Community Center. So I actually was able to meet you guys, where I eventually became an employee. I started off as a volunteer that January of 2007 with the after-school program at a small building.
Yeah.
Assisting.
In Oli.
Yeah. And assisting with after-school programming as a volunteer. Y'all are taking me back.
And what were you studying?
You know, I'm glad you asked that because as I want to share how I ended up there, that's part of the reason how I ended up at African Community Center. I graduated with a BA in International Studies.
Okay.
Y'all go eat. Yeah. So that's what I graduated with.
Okay.
Did you want me to elaborate further on that, or?
I mean, what interested you in that? Is it because you're an international student? Like, what was the plan? Because you found out about African Community Center, like when you're about to graduate. So those other years, like what was your plan? Like, after I graduate, I'm going to do this.
Absolutely, and that's what I wanted to get into. So we're on the same page.
All right.
Having immigrated here, and understandably, I think you guys may have had the same experiences that I've had coming here as refugees, right? And going back on the words that we just shared on our day was being good, being grateful, and the blessings. I felt very lucky to have had a chance to move here to the U.S., to have that ability of having opportunities that I would not have had in my native country where I was born and raised. And so as I finished up at South High School, I originally had signed up to be a student of physics and astronomy. So in my mindset early on was, got to figure out the world. What is this world? What is this universe, And very quickly on that first year of college, I was living in a international living and learning community. So I was living on campus. Again, not only immigrating to the U.S., I was able to attend university because I was awarded a scholarship that allowed me to attend a university for free. So I felt very fortunate in the circumstances that had come upon me, right?
Yeah.
Of course, I did my homework and worked hard because that's the first thing I would do when I get home is get the homework done.
Yeah.
So then I could do the fun activities.
Yeah.
I just did not want to think about that. So I think that helped me get good grades on all of that. But what got to me was living in that international learning community, taking a 2-credit course in international relations. That's when my mind started opening up about myself being a 17, 18-year-old, asking those questions of, who am I?
Yep.
What am I doing here? And how is it that I got here? And what was it my foundation? Speaking about your baby earlier, the conversations that we had, you know, having foundations for kids. What was it the foundation for me? Where did I come from? How did I end up here? And what is my role in this universe or this world? And from that, Theo, as he discussed with my studies, my goal at that time when I decided I would do international studies was, here I am in America, but because of the friends that I made, who are still my friends to this day, who are from Southeast Asia, across Africa, my goal when I was in the university, in college, was
the UN.
international development, right?
The UN.
The UN, right?
Yeah.
Y'all have had that.
Oh, yeah.
too?
Yeah.
It's like, gotta make a difference in this world.
Yes,
have
yes.
large impact. And so that's what was driving me, especially around the end of my second year in college, especially the third year of college and that fourth year. And actually, the reason I studied abroad in South Africa was I had choices. I wanted to go either Southeast Asia or somewhere in the continent of Africa. I had looked at Uganda even. Couldn't find a fitting program there. And it's funny, y'all know how much I love soccer.
No.
I knew the World Cup was going to happen in 2010 in South Africa.
And
So
you were
worked out
like, I can go
perfectly.
there for free.
Yeah. Well, that, right? I predicted like World Cup is coming in 4 years. So in 2006, I said, well, South Africa is a fitting place for me at this stage. I want to learn more about the country. And maybe also, if it is international development work here, I thought in my fourth year, like, I can go make a difference.
Yeah.
In South Africa, maybe in the future, or somewhere in Southeast Asia,
And
or the United Nations,
Yeah.
or watch the World Cup.
or watch the World Cup, which I was able to do later on, but we can talk about that later.
Nice.
But that's about my studies and how that happened, and how I ended up at African Community Center in January of 2007, and it's crazy, and I stuck with it, right? And one of the main reasons that I stuck with it was that summer of 2007, there was a soccer program that was started, and that was really a hook for me to be involved and continue to be involved. And a year later, I met y'all.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Wow. That's
I still have photos when you took us to the mountain tournament, soccer tournament.
you have that?
Yeah, I have one myself.
You got posted.
And another one was Amadou Karim.
Oh yeah.
You remember Big Show?
Yes.
And the other people. Yeah. So
Man, those
I
are
still have
memories.
those photos.
You got posted in this video though.
I don't know. They might have to pay. Those are treasures. You don't
Treasures.
just post them. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Special. They're very special.
Yes.
I think that's the time. Did we have like rotisserie chicken or something? That just came back in my mind.
Yes.
just came back in my
you
mind.
did. Yes.
Thank you for reminding me of that.
Wow.
Man. That's a good memory. Thank you for reminding me of that.
It really is.
So, and then let me take you again way back, but this time I'm going to include your family. Like, how did you end up in the U.S.?
Luck. It's actually pretty amazing. And I don't think we must have never discussed this, but it's something that I am very grateful for. While at the same time, I think it has hugely impacted me in my life. I'm sure you guys are maybe aware of the lottery visa, the diversity visa, it's also called.
DV lottery. That's what they call it.
Yes, sir. That's how myself and my family ended up in Denver, Colorado. My mother had applied for it, got lucky and won, where my mom and my dad and one older brother and myself settled here in Denver, Colorado. So that's how my family and I got here.
Wow. Is it luck though, or it was meant to be?
Say that one more time.
Was it luck or it was meant to be?
That's a beautiful question.
Look at you
Is
now. You're here.
Is it? I was talking about like the universe and then the world and doing neighborhood work now, and that's a really great question. It's hard for me to say which, but to pinpoint it. But there's definitely been moments in my life, many times, where I felt like it's meant to be, depending on circumstances that I was going under.
Yeah.
Nice. Let me ask you this before
I'm still
this guy. I'm telling you. Yo, do you remember the first day you took us to school? Me and Eric.
Oh my god.
Do you remember what happened?
My memory is so bad. I can't even remember what I did yesterday. Hold on. Were we in that van? The ACC? Do you remember? No, it wasn't.
I think it was your car.
Was
Yeah,
my car?
I think it was the
Oh,
Toyota.
you still have that little.
Oh, the Toyota Camry that I had?
Yeah.
Oh, man. That Toyota
Was it
Camry.
gold? It was gold or
Man.
little silver. Yes,
That little
silver
car.
color.
Oh wait, it's not. You should.
Wait, I did have a little car that was a Volkswagen Jetta, I think. Like tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the Corolla,
It did the
the
work,
silver
though.
one. Yes.
Silver one. So, which was it to South?
To South. You came to our house. You pick us.
I feel like were you all living close to Peoria and First? No.
No, Alameda and Federal.
Oh, when you first resettled there.
Yeah.
No, I don't remember. What happened?
What happened? So first day of school. Okay, he came and pick us up.
Mm-hmm.
Even he dropped us. So he's supposed to come to pick us and show us the way to get on the bus or the train to get back home. So when he dropped us, well, I think we were just weeks in and all this thing.
Yep.
He dropped us off.
Because you have to register within that month period.
Yes.
And there were so many folks
So-
resettling through ACC and other places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He dropped us up. He told us not to leave school. He's going to come to get us.
Oh.
And then
And
guess
then
what you did?
Did I
The
show up?
opposite.
this is what happened. When school was, they let everybody out. Everybody that we met that day,
Left.
they all exit that main door straight to the bus. Guess what did everybody do?
Go to the bus.
Go to the
Oh,
bus. We all went to the bus. We got lost. So when he came to the school to get us, we were not at school.
Oh no.
So now, now Yoal started going crazy, trying to figure out where we were.
Oh,
The
no.
school didn't know where we were because we left.
Oh.
And now you start going back and forth between the school and our house, trying to
find
see,
you guys.
try to find us. All those times we were in the bus, and it was bus 11 that was going east to Center Point.
Oh no.
So when we got to Center Point, we was like,
Center Point in Aurora?
oh, in Aurora.
But y'all were on, okay.
We were on the opposite side.
West side, yeah.
Yeah. So that's where bus 11 stopped. And the driver told us to exit. We was like, no, we live by Alameda and Federal.
Oh no.
So that was the street we remember. The driver was like, you're on the wrong bus.
Oh no.
So the driver has to find another bus that was going west to get us on that, and
Wow.
told the driver,
Wow.
drop them on Alameda and Federal. So that's how the bus driver took us back. Another hour and a half driving back from Center Point going west.
Oh my goodness.
So when we got to Federal and Mississippi, he dropped us. There was
Okay.
bus 30. He was like, take 30. And he told the driver for that bus, drop them on Alameda and Federal.
Oh wow.
So that's how we got dropped. And then we remember, oh, okay, this is where we live. Here's Canosa
We know where we
Street.
are. Yeah.
And then we got up. Everyone was like, what happened? Why didn't you guys wait for you all? Now we start explaining, and I remember my brother called you to tell you like we made it home
Okay.
and all these things,
Yeah.
and it was crazy. But that was the first day that you all took us to school,
Oh
and
my
that's what
goodness.
happened. I
Oh my
remember that
goodness.
story.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I can't trace back. I can't remember.
Well, now it's gonna stay on YouTube forever.
It's always gonna be there. That's good.
Yeah.
Keeping our memories.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, bro.
Yeah, you're welcome. Which is a good memory. I always remember. I always said this. I was like, yeah, I got lost, and that was a sense that I never got lost again.
Yeah. I feel like at least majority of us have that kind of story. Well, with me, I was fortunate because remember Tito?
Tito, yes. Where is? Okay, we talk about that later.
So
His face just.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was fortunate because like people that I knew were already there and we lived in the same area. So I didn't get the
You
experience, the great experience there.
I think
They were
my family was the one of the two that was living west.
Okay.
And everybody else was east.
Do you remember the other family that was living on the west? If I'm not mistaken. That just
Yes,
came
I
back
do
to-
remember.
Yeah. On
Yeah.
Federal, they were further
They were
down
there.
south.
Silver.
Yeah.
Silver's family
Yeah.
was yes.
I
Yeah.
recall that. And I
Yeah.
remember, showing them the bus routes.
bus
I'll
route.
never forget that. And I don't mean like to forget you, right? But I just remember we were speaking about soccer upstairs. I
Mhm.
remember, like, I'm going back to what you were sharing about, like, the language and how difficult it is your first week, 2 weeks, and until you
Mhm.
learn the language. And one form of communication I had with Sylvia and Eugene at that point was like, Arsenal, Manchester United, it's
Yep.
just soccer. Like, how else are we supposed to understand one another? You know?
Yeah.
So you just reminded me of that as well. But yeah, man, we all have those stories of.
So my other question was, so you came from an East African country
Yes, sir.
that don't speak any other language other than English and maybe some Greece but like it's not French.
No.
And majority of the kids that you worked with spoke French. Like, how were you able to communicate with all of us before we picked up certain words?
Yeah,
How-
the
like,
people,
how did
people
you-
skills.
Like,
people,
how were you able
I
to
just
work
told
with
you,
us?
man. Arsenal, Manchester United, like
Yeah,
that
that's
gets
it.
you. That gets you to places,
Yeah.
and maybe that comfort, sign language and such. But that's a really good question.
How were you able to do it? It's not even
I don't
us. Like, how were you able to do it? Because everything made sense.
It makes sense. And also, as a volunteer, as a volunteer, because you started as a volunteer.
I started as a volunteer and with the soccer program, but then I was assigned my role also as I became employed at African Community Center. One
Yeah.
of my roles was to help families register for school.
Mhm.
And at that time, I was going to mention this too. There were so many families in 2008.
Woo.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
only throughout
All
Africa,
of us.
but there were so
So
many
That were
resettling. So
especially within the African community
African
centers.
Community Center
So
and the
many.
other two agencies that were also resettling. There were just so many coming in, and so I do understand that. As an example, with the elders, like your parents, maybe at that time, like they would have interpretation for
Mhm.
job searches and things like that. I think, if I remember correctly, again, as you said with African Community Center, it was just overwhelming of how much work needed to get done. So
Yeah.
somehow, some way, Theo, I hope I did okay.
I know you
You
figured it out.
You did
It
great.
does not
You
make
did
sense.
great.
And I just remember this, like it was every day, every week of just like
You
have to
did
get-
great.
Yeah.
I think even there was the language barrier,
Mhm.
but you were able to bring every kids together. Whether some speak English or like whether the different dialogue that we spoke,
Absolutely.
but you were able to bring everybody together.
Yeah, and as you're
Right.
saying that, and I'm just
Mhm.
pointing to what you're saying because a commonality. One of the things, if we go back to Verbena Park too, it was a soccer.
Man, that
It was a
place.
soccer.
It
Like,
was
you don't
soccer.
need language.
Yeah,
you know.
Two places like every time, like bring the Verbena Park and at the old African Community Center.
Right
Yeah.
there
Like
on
there was
8th
Ten-
and Holly. Yeah.
And only
There was
8th and
another.
Holly.
8th
8th and Holly.
8th
yeah.
and only.
There was a place like 2-3 minutes a walk
Yeah.
where we'll play soccer.
A
like,
park right there, like
Oh, yeah,
Ah.
right next to it there was one. I remember
Yeah,
that,
so those two
Playground and
places I'll never forget it.
no,
yeah, those were.
They're not the same anymore though.
no, they're not.
They are not. Well, you know what? Now that you said that, immediately I was just thinking about Verbena Park. But even the small park around 8th and Holly, that neighborhood has also.
That's changed
I don't
completely.
even know if that park. Maybe they took. Maybe there's
Yeah.
been a bunch of buildings and everything around. But
Yeah.
yeah, not the same anymore.
Yeah. Huh.
I do have a quick update about Verbena Park, but
Okay.
I'm gonna keep it till later. I'm sure in some way it'll come back, and I'll
Okay.
share.
All
I'll
right.
share it in a bit,
We make a note of that. We have to.
please.
So, from
Another thing, sorry, Span.
Go ahead,
Another
go ahead.
thing, another impact you had was I don't know for others, but our parents. Every time I wanted to do something and I'll mention your name,
Ask
they're
Yoal.
like, no. Even if I was like,
it's like
oh,
a
where you going? There's this going on with Yoal.
with Yoal.
Like-
Okay, they won't say no.
So that's another thing.
That's good, man.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to hear that. Also, just reflecting back on the past. I think maybe going back to the language and how able to do it as I reflect on it right now, and even in current work that I'm doing. And I think just in general in life, like I think just being present, being consistent, being positive, maybe being joyful, maybe.
I'm telling you.
I think spreading positivity even when we can understand each other just a little bit, just the smile, the laughter, the eyes, I think maybe that goes along the way. And what Theo and what you're bringing up about, as you recall your parents, So that's good. Thank you for sharing that too, bro.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
we're gonna be here for hours remembering memories here.
I know it's crazy because like in year 2008 there was so many of us that came in the United States that I think God wanted you to be that guy to connect and to welcome everybody. And now you started with the soccer program after school, and I think and also with the indoor soccer league.
Man, yeah, that's still there.
It's still there.
Is it
It's called Blade.
Yosemite? Yeah,
Yosemite.
Yes.
Yeah, all the way by close to the police academy.
Yeah.
Man.
Mountain View.
Yeah. Like we had all these things happening, and I do want to say, as we're talking too, I think in the background, as we're recalling, the Verbena Park happening, here's Yoel and other staff that were connected maybe with the youth program, and 2008, 9, 10, 11, I think there was a lot of resettlement happening, and even after that, and there's a lot of work that goes into the background, as I'm sure you guys are aware, not only with ACC, but many other different organizations that are able to help folks resettling in this country and in this city, so it's a lot of work. And as I say that, I'm also reflecting and even reflecting on my drive here to come meet you guys. For myself, I can speak for myself, and I'm sure it's very the same to others who are in this same field, serving and assisting maybe, or whatever words you may use. They also get a lot out of it, and I just want to share with y'all too, including for myself, as we started, like, why international studies and what were your plans, right? And here's this big plans, but at the very same time, it's for me, it's been connecting to what's in front of me, trying to assist how I can, and finding joy in that, and finding that passion in connecting. And I do get a lot out of it too, it's blessings, and it's a lot of blessings as well, to meet all those who have come as new Americans in this country. And it happens to be, it's in neighborhoods, whether Alameda and Federal, as you mentioned, or it's East Aurora, or it's Central Denver, or it's in East Colfax, where I still am connected to that neighborhood.
Who told me about street fraternity?
Let's get to street fraternity. Yeah.
You know who told me about street fraternity?
Who?
This one time, Emily.
Yep. A while back ago.
Years back. This one time I was coming from work. We end up in the same bus somehow. Like, and then she's like, "Oh, your well has this and this and going on." I was like, "Wait, what?"
You should go check it out.
And yeah,
that had to be around
2013. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
So April 1st of 2013 was when Street Fraternity first opened. A couple of years before that, I had met this guy named Dave Stalls, who had tremendous experience with running nonprofits and starting nonprofits, including big nonprofits. And he ran a space called The Spot between in the 90s, early 90s to late 90s, up to early 2000s, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
which I was in high school at that time, in between 1999 until 2003. And I got to meet him through his son, and he was looking for getting back to do work, grassroots organization work. And one of the areas that he was walking around and discovering for places was East Colfax neighborhood. And as you know, Street Fraternity now in the basement of the Disabled American Veterans Building is only 6 to 7 blocks from Verbena Park.
Yeah.
So it ties into what we were just talking about. I'm like, here I am doing this work with this foundation. I'm still active at Verbena Park, and guys are still showing up and having the soccer as a positive means in that neighborhood and in their lives, hopefully.
Yeah.
So got to meet this dude through his son. And then there was 2 other key staff people currently who were also there since day one. You guys have surely met them, Levon Lyles and Amadou Bility, and the guy that I was talking about earlier, Dave Stalls. And early on, as he was looking to get back to do work, he was specifically focused on and had passions and interests around the elements of violence and the violence and how that violence impacts youth and young men. Collectively in the Denver metro area, but he was interested in those spaces, and he was able, when he was walking around the neighborhood, is when he was able to see that basement with the Disabled American veterans, and they've been in that building for 35 years.
Wow.
And they were the only ones when Dave was expressing to them and saying, we want to work with violent young men. Other places around Aurora side and on the Denver side was like, nah, get the violence out of here.
We don't want
What
to
do you
get
mean?
involved.
What do you mean you want to work with violent young men? We don't want the violence, exactly. We don't want those bad kids here. That's what he was deeply passionate about. Meanwhile, here I am at Verbena Park, right? And it was during that time that that Street Fraternity started.
Yeah.
Do you want me to keep going?
Yeah.
Yeah. and the vision was like, all right, this is going to get started, and 10 to 15 people, maybe up to 20, will be in this space that could get identified, who can benefit from this space, you know, that either we can reach out to.
Yeah.
And they could be in this space depending on how consistent they want to be. But I don't have to tell you guys. You brought up yourself, Spunny, about 4 different teams and this and that, right?
Yeah.
And so that need and that want in the neighborhood was, outgrew what was the anticipation to do in that space, right? And there was a lot of adapting and being flexible to the needs and the wants of the youth that came in. And a lot of the leadership, including from the board of directors of Street Fraternity, including from Dave, including from Amadou, who was on the board, and Levon, also as a staff, eventually had to make those decisions and say, well, we need to serve who's coming into this space.
Yeah. Now another thing, I don't know if you remember, I think it was either, I don't know what year it was, my friends and I were trying to start a nonprofit, or we started a nonprofit back in our country, and
I remember that y'all were down.
And then I attended one of your board meetings to get an idea.
You did,
yeah. See,
I remember. I remember in the basement by the ping pong room having this conversation. I remember like a barbecue, like.
Yeah. But then you told me the specific day. I remember coming to I attended a few board meetings because you wanted
to do this again. Keep going.
And so I was like, I don't know if you remember, but then and then you guys gave me a piece of paper to present the kind of questions to ask and to see, and then it's been going.
It's been going?
Yeah.
So as you're a non-profit,
it's great. The students, some of the students even graduate, they graduated already.
Oh,
so it's
congratulations.
been that long.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it is about helping children pay for school.
My man.
And
that's beautiful, bro.
Providing school supplies.
That's beautiful, bro.
You never told me that I would have give you a shout out long time ago.
Nah, now I want the check, man.
This guy.
Let's go do a car wash and get $3 million.
And
or
then-
find other means to
Yeah.
find support. But thank you for sharing that, man. That's beautiful. And to the listeners, one thing that y'all don't know, maybe that we discussed before getting on, is just how long it's been since we've seen one another, and we've really tried to do this, and I've canceled multiple times just because things have happened. But I'm so glad
You
that
are
we
the
could be here
most
today.
busy man in this city, so we know. So why Street Fraternity? How did you guys come up with that name?
Street fraternity.
Yeah, or Street Frat.
What name could you see? What name could you see it be?
Well, if I have to imagine, some people would have put urban youth development, like endangerment, like preventing some type of, but you guys went straight way, Street Fraternity.
Let me call this dude. Why did he say street fraternity? Yo, Dave. But as you can imagine, maybe in and around the languages that we use so far, and who to attract into that space and who to have in that space. I know that I think even, man, we've had conversations about the guys and the people that we know.
Yeah.
Maybe from younger age, conversations that we've had of challenges that people have had. So maybe a lot of times you hear people say, maybe even in our communities, oh, that's just the street. kids."
Yeah.
So I could think of that name saying that. And then what does the word fraternity being added on there mean,
Yeah.
What I do love is, though, the guys that participate, they'll call it whatever they want, over the time. So
Okay.
depending on which countries they've resettled from, they've given it different names as far as what they mean, what it means for them. So I think for me, outside of the name is what is happening inside of that space, and what does it mean for the participants and the young men, and how do they feel in that space, and do they have a sense of ownership? Do they feel like the space belongs to them? Do they identify with the space? So more than the name itself, for myself and even for the organization itself, it's an identifiable. That's how we identify as a street fraternity. That's the name that was given from early on and as it started. But more than the name is what happens in the space and how the young men that voluntarily choose to be in that space feel to be in that space.
All right. Sounds good.
I'm trying to take it deeper, Theo.
It's coming. I know. You want to get all the good stuff for the people. We gotta get it to the deeper part. So when you guys started Street Fraternity, what was the goal? Was it like, okay, let's say when a young man or a woman walked in, what was the goal for that person leaving that building? What was that person was going to receive?
For sure. I can answer that very simply. So it's been 10 and a half years. Right?
Yeah.
It does feel like a very long time, but at the same time, it feels like a short time too. So there's been a lot that's happened. I don't think I need to share with you guys much, but the neighborhood, as you know, is not
safe.
Tell me more.
Did you read that the paper?
How do you feel? Yeah, how do you feel about the neighborhood? Why did you choose the word not safe?
Not safe because what has happened, or what has like the tragedy, the tragics that has happened to young people like same age as us, and also same story. We have the same story. Majority of them, all of them, their family came here to for a better life, but then they were at a pretty young age. Even they were even younger than us.
Yeah,
and their life ended.
Yeah,
in the same area. Also, there's also a mother that was. So all those things. So that's why I'm saying it is not safe because of those things that have happened.
Yeah.
And also, when you go to is it 13th, like the street is different now. you guys have, like, people don't drive fast anymore. Like, they have been,
Yeah.
you know, a
They've
lot of things
reduced
in
the
yes. So, and that is because also, like, the city or realize how there's a lot, people are always there.
Yeah.
So people have to slow down the way you drive and all those things.
So along with that word, as you said, safe, not feeling safe, other issues that you could see in the neighborhood is, the violence that you're speaking about. Also the school progress, how well youth and young men are doing, because we focus for youth and young men between the ages of 14 to 25. Over the last several years, we've had to make some space, and even historically make some space for those who are under 14, because we tell them come back when you're 14, but they continuously will show up, because whether they know it or not, and of course those that come, they want to be in that space for XYZ reason. So along with the not feeling safe and the violence that you're mentioning there, or that some folks may hear about on the news or what have you, the tragedies, is also that school progress that I just mentioned. How well are the students doing in school, whichever school they're going, whether on the Denver side or the Aurora side, as well as, the mental well-being. How is that status, right? Depending on the effects of the neighborhood, the state, the nation, the world.
Yeah.
How well are they doing with the mental well-being? I think importantly also is, we could also bring up the alcohol or drug misuse as well being an issue, and has been an issue as long as this organization has existed. And we also understand it's been a continual issue in the neighborhood, even prior refugees coming from anywhere being resettled.
Yeah.
So this is not an issue that just started 10 years ago. This is not an issue that started 20 years ago. It's been an ongoing issue in this specific neighborhood that we're speaking about. And so while at the same time, imagine being the 14-year-olds that we were, or 18-year-olds trying to figure out, like, what are we going to do in life? Or as we spoke, like, I'm 21 and gonna go to the UN, right?
We're so naive.
Gonna change the world immediately, and we want that. And, who's to say that we can't do that? And when I say we, as youth and young people, I'm still young people, Theo.
And that's fine. That's fine.
But what I wanted to add,
you're just more wiser than us.
What I wanted to add to that is also having a place, where they can identify and belong to has been key and important in those years. So going back to that question of, like, when a young person decides to step into that space, for us, it's voluntarily showing up to that space. They're not required to be there. They don't have to do anything while there. They're not required to do this activity or that activity. When in that space. So they choose to show up. And when you're saying what they receive from being there is the 7 different rooms that had been laid out. You guys have both seen it.
Yep.
So it's having those 7 rooms, which also become part of the programs that they receive, part of the services that they receive. But importantly is going back to that consistency, right? Going back to that being present. That we've spoken around already. So as Street Fraternity, we've been open year-round every single year. We're not closed. We'll close 1 week during July 4th week. We'll close around the holidays time. We may close with seasonal changes, take a couple of days off. Or when school is out, we may take a few days, just everybody, go and relax, miss the place and come back. But I think that consistency and being present is also something that they get.
Yeah.
And when in that space, it's also an opportunity to engage with positive male role models in the community. So it's staff that are there as positive male role models. It's also volunteers who could be in that space as positive male role models. And so the takeaway is that once they step into that space, have it be, it's an alternative education space. You've gone to school, maybe you're not doing well in school. Maybe you are too, but you choose to show up to Street Fraternity. What else are you getting there by engaging with positive male role models in that space? And how does that impact you in your home, at school, with your family, with your significant others, with your girlfriends, and how does that impact your personal growth? So our hope has been and continues to be that to build that brotherhood, so that to achieve that personal growth. So those are some of the things that a young man that chooses to show up can get. And really, like, a lot of times maybe we're just hanging out.
Yeah.
What do you just get from hanging out? You're building that relationship, you're building that trust,
talking,
and so
sharing knowledge.
yeah, and so have it be a situation that might be of crisis related to the issues that we talked about. Have it be a small issue that might be with a sibling or a parent or at school. Then at the very least, in or around food, we could talk about it, or the young men know that during the time that we're open, they can ask us, "Hey, can I talk to you?" Or we may see them, look in some kind of way, and we could check in privately or ask if they want to talk. So that those things go a long way. And even in around the violence, like, we are present, we are there. So if it is that we can help in any way to intervene or prevent any causes or any negative impact that can come about, at least we have that relationship that we've built up in the space where a young man can openly share with us what their challenges and obstacles are, and if we're able to help. And a lot of times it's just talking, man.
Yeah.
A lot of the guys just.
That's why
need
we
a lot of
started
talking.
this.
Say that again.
That's why we started this.
Beautiful, man.
Talking.
Yes, sir.
Touching again on the violence. Wait, sorry, I used the word not safe. I don't know if you wanted to use a different word.
Oh no, I'm good with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So touching on the violence, some young men have lost their lives, and most of them you had a personal relationship with them. Like, how did that affect you personally, or how does that affect you personally? I wanted to go deep.
As a father.
As a father. As a father. Yeah.
Because most of those, they're like your kid.
Mm.
I will say that because some you have known them for so long, and some is like, so like when we look up to, like, as I introduce him, like, as a big brother, because a lot of us look up
That's
to
how
you.
we look
in
at you.
Those
Looked
days
at
of
you and
SEC.
still look at you.
Like, Yoal is one of the big brother have, laid the foundation for us not to choose this path, but to choose the other path.
I'm taking it in, and I had all these thoughts that flooded in, and how'd you ask it?
Hmm?
How'd you ask it? You said, "Oh, how have you felt?"
So
Yeah.
those guys were personally
Yeah.
close to you.
Yeah.
How is that?
How did it personally impact me?
Yes.
Is how you said it. I think it
Outside
personally-
from
it
being
personally-
the executive director.
yeah, for sure. I think that I think it affected all of us, right?
Yes.
Even if for folks that knew them from a distance or from very, very close, it impacted us. I'll say organizationally, it deeply impacted us because it's very close.
Yeah.
We're still here. Keeping on going. And that's the most important thing for us is keeping that door open so that the young men and the youth have that opportunity to voluntarily show up, How did it personally impact me?
Let me add another one.
When we were
Let
supposed
me add
when
another
we,
one.
When we were go ahead. when we were, I'll say this too, like part of the reasons that, when we first had talked was January of 2022.
Yes.
So that's when I was gonna show up as
And-
well.
and
and do
Yep,
this.
and
we
things
had to
happen.
bury
And-
somebody.
And
Yes.
life has been happening and
Yeah.
ongoing. It was a crazy year, and even this year, deep a lot. I'm not gonna go in detail, but we also have lost 3 individuals, 2 very close, and a third a volunteer just recently.
Oh, wow.
And adults who've been a part of community in and around the food distribution just this year. So it's a lot. It's so personally.
Yeah.
Take it deeper. Ask that other question. I got answers for you. I just love looking at you, and I'm like, you got another question that's gonna just like
Yeah. So how does personally impact you, and how do you deal with it?
it angers you. It makes you
Yeah.
frustrated. It makes you feel like, related to conversations from earlier, like, man, why isn't there enough resources in the communities?
Yes.
Now, when I say communities, I'm going to specifically focus your question in a community like the East Colfax neighborhood, where Street Fraternity is, and also where Verbena Park is, where we spend a lot of time together way back, right?
Yeah.
So It's anger, frustration, personally. You might not see that in me and in my face. It's anger and frustration, but again, like I said, like lack of resources that it feels in the neighborhoods. So personally, just you get deep in your head and just think about those. You could get deep in your head and also think about personally, and others too, like why these individuals, you know?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you know, it's not just those individuals that we know that have passed away in the circumstances that they did. And also there's many others in similar neighborhood, and even not similar neighborhood, and even the status of the nation, the state, like with gun violence, it's everywhere, right? It's being talked about everywhere. But the question is, like, that's another level that I think about also, is like, what is being done? Like, what is being done at the neighborhood level? Okay, we believe some of the things that we have done and continue to do are helpful in some way.
Yeah.
It's not perfect.
Well,
it's not a solution, maybe, but it's a little bit helpful. But it's the wish that there could be larger action taken for these issues. And a lot of the times, I personally feel like, related to what you asked me here, is it's a lack of resources in neighborhoods such as East Colfax. Lack of resources, lack of opportunities that have existed pre-time. This Friday will be 26 years that I've been in the U.S. So even prior to me here and all of that, I think it's a collective, it's a whole wider issue. And personally, I've gone to a good place around these days with the deep tragedies. You'll ask the questions why these individuals, but and really, like, going back to your point earlier, when you asked me about my personal life, luck or happens for a reason, many times maybe some things, even tragedies, do happen for a reason.
Yeah.
You know.
And how do you remain sane?
How do you remain sane?
Do you run around the neighborhood? Do you?
I stay sane, man. I can't stop reading international news. The news somehow, some way, maybe it just boils me up and it energizes me and it keeps me going. So there's a part of that keeps me going, I think, and keeps me sane, is just to be like, it's all right. This is it. There's always challenges, and just keep going, keep pushing. To remain sane, as far as, man, I have a torn ACL still, so I can't play soccer. I've done a lot of biking. I've got this really nice bike that I have, and last summer, just spending time biking and just checking out. That's been really good.
Okay.
To keep me sane. To stay sane, my colleagues and my friends. I mean, I call them colleagues and friends too. I think collectively, as a group, we're able to share with one another and heal together too.
Yeah.
And including, I will say, including with participants, just having open dialogues and checking in on each other, whether we're a street fraternity or outside of street fraternity, and making sure that we're checking in, you know. Mentors that I mentioned earlier, who are also friends, you know, like when those times comes, just like, yo, I got to process, I got to talk about this and get it out of my head.
Definitely.
And scream it out and yell it out. So there's been a lot of screaming and yelling and in my mind, and you know what I mean? And that anger and frustration, because it's really unfortunate, especially many of the things that have happened over the last 3-4 years. It's very frustrating for many people and a lot of people.
Let me ask you this. People, many society. I'm gonna say.
Don't
then you
put
can
it on society, man.
no. Well, there's this saying that say, you may be born into a poverty, but you choose to remain poor. That's up to you.
That's a conservative saying. That's a Republican saying, man.
Okochi.
You know.
So
what's the question?
Let me get to my question, my thought, Okochi. So you born in a poverty, and if you choose to remain in the environment of poverty, that's up to you.
What choices are you given?
What choices are you given?
Yeah.
To get away from that instead of remaining to.
What opportunities are you given to get away from that?
Okay. Well, school should be one of them.
Great. What else? Where are we going with this? I'm listening, bro.
So
Sorry.
no, you good. So my thing is, if because what I'm trying to say, based on your line of work, okay, and the community you serve, you see firsthand of disadvantage it is, lack of resource, lack of opportunity, and all these
I
things.
see what you're saying, yeah.
You see that. Is there a way to, as you are mentoring all those youth, to show them, because we come from the worst to here, at least there is, we can say, 40.57% chance of making it than compared to coming from back home in Africa. So as you're mentoring them, do you see there is that opportunity or that window where you can tell those people, instead of choosing to remain into the environment or drain that, well,
Yeah.
bad crew, or remain in the negativity, here you can choose to choose a better future, a job
sure.
that home,
For sure.
and move out of this
Yeah.
environment of poverty.
You know, if I had like a magic thing,
The magic wand.
magic wand. Thank you. As you're saying that, and asking that question, I can only think in my mind, whether it's individuals that we've known, I can only think about like the education system, maybe. Not only for people we've known, but also just the education system in general, maybe. For example, in or around the East Colfax neighborhood that we're speaking about. And so if you're thinking in your mind of, individuals that struggle, or as you're asking that, seeing people that have lack of resources, there are resources out there too, I understand. And also questions about, I can ask, others, man, it's like, are there resources being implemented or put into place where it's understood by those that do need the resources? Is it of ease to get to the resources? And for sure, there's going to be some individuals that are just going to F up and not follow up or what have you. Like, I get that. But in particular with youth or young adults, I just feel internally and in my gut, like, come on, like, where do most kids spend their time during the day? Outside of sleeping hours or outside of being at home, is like at the school playground. So I think, like, to your question there, that's the magic one like that just came up, is how can we adequately, like, holistically support a young person in the school time. And so if they're having challenges with school, or not performing well, how can we support the teachers? And I don't know, I'm not saying this is a solution or whatever, but that's the only thing that's coming into my mind, is like, where is most time spent? I can go back to experiences, as you guys took me back, like how to ACC and all the way to Street Frat and today and this table, like you're saying, and I think early on during the times at ACC and helping families register their students to school, I was seeing the difference. I was seeing the difference in education background by those who were being resettled, and also entering the schools, whether middle school, elementary, or high school. And I think about this very often. I think about it very often, like, it comes to my mind a whole lot from that experience. And even being around the soccer field, it comes a lot, and it is. And now we're specifically focusing on those that resettled refugees, right? And I think it's also maybe relevant for those that immigrated. I think it's also relevant for local born from low-income communities, let's say, or a neighborhood like East Colfax, regardless of race background or such, is I noticing not just the the foundation of English. You guys can recall back to 2008 and 9, maybe, from different countries resettling here, and like you may know the level of English for certain parts, or even where we're from, right? Or where I me coming in as an immigrant, like my English level was maybe higher than my other really good friends from middle school and high school.
Yeah.
I saw that when I went to Merrill, when I went South. You know what I mean? I received the same scholarship. My close friends till this day, like 2 of them got the same scholarship, didn't finish college because one chose like a business route, the other maybe was struggling. I don't know. Like out of South High School, I think there was 8 of us that received that scholarship, and some of us completed our education. You know what I mean? But going back to the resettlement that I was saying, I think that level of English having resettled, or that level of education for the kids locally born, from first grade to third grade, those early years that we were speaking about earlier. I think that was crucial. And then if we go back to the experiences that we were speaking about, and the folks that we may know, you named some names earlier, from when we went to soccer in that tournament.
Yeah.
You mentioned some names on there that still struggle on the streets.
Yes.
And it's heartbreaking to see.
Yeah.
Right. But I always think in my mind about not only the English level, but also even the native tongue, foundational language basics. Did that individual have it or not? And what are the effects of that? Let's say resettling here at 14, and having to do a biology homework or something, you know what I mean? And like trying to finish college and graduate, or trying to finish high school rather, and trying to graduate and trying to go to college. Like, what are those obstacles? And I think those obstacles that an individual we can maybe name that we care about, like, is going through struggles, and then add in what I said earlier around the violence issues, add in the drugs and alcohol, add in the mental well-being, and the school progress that we're speaking about right now. So if you didn't have those foundations back to where you're coming from, or you're locally born and you didn't have those foundations, I go back to like that magic wand, right?
Yep.
How can we support those individuals now, those that are in school? I hope
So education for you.
Education, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he gave a very deep meaning to that
Well,
question.
you want it deep, so
No,
It wasn't
because
deep enough for Theo.
because the way you are explaining it, I've hardly heard anybody explain it that way. Because most of the time, we do not think about the background, how far back you want to, like, oh, how old are you? 14? Oop, here you are. Figure it out. Make it. Get out. And we never thought about that whole background. Why it's pushing those young men into that canal of to choose that lifestyle instead of choosing the positive one. But yeah, thank you.
And I'm not saying like each individual doesn't have that responsibility, right? I think we all do. We have to make the right choices, absolutely. But when you're being pressured by just different elements in and around, and you happen to be there, I think, I was earlier this year, close friends of mine, it's a lot. I when we first settled here in the U.S. with my family, we were I don't know, 5 minutes drive, where Street fraternities now. So, and I don't think y'all lived in the neighborhood.
I lived there.
Yeah.
I lived
how long did your
Grace
family stay?
apartment
Okay.
or at least 5 years.
5 years.
Let me see.
That's a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Cause I went, like, my whole high school experience was there. My first year or 2 years, so about six years.
That's a long time.
Yeah,
So you were there until.
and it was different then though.
Yeah.
It was way different. Yeah.
It doesn't feel the same now, right?
No.
No, it's not. Even driving there is
different.
It's different.
Yeah.
I think it's what you all mentioned too, the different situations that have occurred over the past.
Yes.
Unfortunate, but it's really unfortunate. And here we are discussing this, right? But
Yeah.
at the very same time, there's surely other neighborhoods who have similar or
Similar
same
or worse.
experiences or worse
Mhm.
experiences. But it's really sad, the status of the world too. So yeah, that's why we have a lot of work to do.
Yes, we do.
Those that want to
Same
go to the
thing.
UN.
That's why you want to go to the UN. I mean, why
Those
not?
that
I mean,
want to go to the UN have a lot of work to do.
I mean,
But I feel
seriously,
like you're doing the same thing, it's just in a different area.
I think
yeah.
I'll-
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And a different thing, but I just started thinking too, like, yeah, UN, huh? Why not UN?
the most corrupt
Leo?
organization in the world, man.
The worst organization in the world. So
The
what are we
most
corrupt.
corrupt. So what are we doing about it?
I mean, corruption, that's defining a human being, honestly.
Mm.
So the UN is run by a human being.
Mm.
Yeah.
So are you
But
saying
it's multiple human beings, right?
yes, and that's a lot of corruption
Mm.
combined.
Mm. Well, let's.
But could I just
Yes,
share
go ahead.
something that came to mind? Is I
Mhm.
think, given y'all's experiences, right, and imagine like so many others with similar and different backgrounds, like different experiences. Like, do y'all ever dream of like, I don't know, you're doing things with your nonprofit, like, where do you hope to take that, and how do you, like, where do you see it in the future?
That's a good question. I haven't thought about.
He's thinking
10,
about going
20 years.
overthrow the government, become the president.
Going what?
Going to overthrow the Burundian government and
Is that
become
right?
the president.
There you go.
I did not say
That's
that.
the end goal.
I
That's
did not say that.
Maybe that's what he,
I
Spaniard
don't-
would like you to do.
I don't do politics. Yeah, I think he's projecting.
Yeah. But do you think, like, I'm asking it in a question format,
Mhm.
though. Do you think, like, y'all and others like you from all different parts of the world, like,
We all have.
do you feel like you
dreams.
have some kind of sense of responsibility?
Oh yeah, of
to-
course,
do.
of course,
We
of
do.
course. Yeah, like, and it's not just the nonprofit; it's many other things.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one of the problem I have with myself is I can't focus on one thing.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one. Still
Do you
working.
want to focus on one thing?
No, I don't think that would be like I want. For me to remain this sane, I have to focus on a lot of things. Yeah.
Mm. Great one. Well, for me,
He's the one that's going to overthrow his government and be a dictator. I don't know why he's projecting that on me. I'm just, I just wanna.
Maybe you can get things done as a dictator.
You can't. You get things done
get
as a
things done.
dictator. You can't get things done with democracy.
it never worked for us.
What?
Why are we trying to get into politics right now? He said he won't talk politics.
No, I'm not. I don't want to talk politics.
You like how this came up? We can get into politics.
That's fine. Personal question with politics. What's going on with your country and the other country?
No comment.
All right. I knew you were gonna say exactly that.
Yeah.
What's going on is, what's going on in the streets.
Yeah.
The bigger guy.
It's sad.
The bigger
the
guy
human.
is.
It's sad. But
I had a comment too about what you were saying, and I said the magic wand. But as you were asking that question, I was having the feeling of, like, and reflecting on what you said about humans too, or the UN being a human and corrupt. Isn't there enough in this world? Like, there's enough for
Yes.
everybody.
yes.
Yeah, I believe so.
So why do we just complicate it? So, like, as you're asking me, like, what's
Mm.
going on in your country? I'm like, brother, I don't know. I
You
don't
would
know.
think
I mean, things should just. I mean, shouldn't it
A,
be
B, C,
basics?
yes.
Like,
yeah.
does that frustrate you guys? Like,
It
Yeah.
does. in all those things, my thing is like, if you greedy
Bastards.
buster, billionaires who hate each other so much want to go or create an island, a private island where you guys want to go and slaughter each other there, I'll be fine with
Just
that.
leave the money behind.
You're funny.
But
Just
let's live the innocent life, the innocent family who are struggling how to make a living, how to survive, how to feed their kids, how to see their kids, ups and downs, to put them to school, not a good, like all these things. They are the one are paying the prices for your stupid stuff, your stupid disagreement. That's my thing is, and it's hard for human to see that those people, they are living lavish life. Their kids are flying private with expensive bodyguard, living all this expensive life. But those everyday people do not have the luxury to live that life, and they're the one paying the prices, and no one is there to point finger at them and say, stop this.
Yeah.
And now we are blaming innocent people. We are talking down to people, but where the people who are controlling this thing, they are living in the mansions.
What is that African proverb? When elephants
Elephant
fight,
the grass suffer.
The grasshopper.
no, when elephants fights, the grass suffer.
Oh, the grass stuff.
Yeah.
With the grass, man, they're the elephants. No, because at the end of the day, whatever is going on, like with your country, when I study my country history and the war that it went through, genocides, everything that's going on in the Middle East, everything that's going on, World War One, World War Two, Ukraine, and every other place, it leads back to money. Somebody is making money
Oh yeah.
off of it.
100%. 100%. 100%.
So is the money the problem or is the people?
Money is the root of all evils.
No, the love of money.
Now you're more edited that way.
The love of money. We can get into that too.
I'm remembering friend's question as you guys were talking, brought up money. How much money is enough? If all those issues are, he said, I think,
It
linked
leads
to
back.
Ukraine, it leads back to
One
money.
person
It
can
leads-
end all this.
Somebody's
much-
making money off of it.
How much money they trying to get? Like,
I don't
how
think,
much is enough?
I don't think it's
I don't
Is
know.
it
About
is
how
what the
much?
friend asked? Huh?
If you ask me, I will tell you like a very specific thing, and if you ask Bill Gates, he will answer you with a different question. Yeah, with a different
I
answer.
think it has to do with the system.
Yeah.
I think they are preventing a system, not about because if it's about money, well, why Elon Musk keep?
No, it's about money because, like he said, the reason why he's asking, your friend asked that question is because there can seem to be enough.
Correct. So will there ever be enough?
It depends who you ask.
Yeah,
What do you
the
think?
world is evil.
I don't think there's enough.
You don't think
I
there's
think-
not enough?
What about for you?
For me personally, I'll be lying if I say there will be enough. Like, how much is enough?
Sure.
Because I also believe that when I get to that point, when I get to that point,
Mm-hmm.
when I get to that point, I feel like there's something that is gonna like bring out of me.
Yeah.
I believe money will brings
A good or a bad?
Something
it,
else.
no, it will be decided when I get to that point if
Gotcha.
it's gonna
Yeah,
be
respect.
good or bad. Yeah,
Respect, yeah.
Yeah.
and that's what's going to be.
Well, it better be
defined.
good. I wouldn't say respect good or
Exactly.
bad. I wouldn't
Yeah,
say
yeah,
good
yeah.
to the bad.
I mean,
respect to the bad. I mean.
the hope is good
Yeah,
when
yeah.
I'm not there, but
Yeah.
but that's when you see like, wow. I mean, you've seen people with power, even if it's little power, their true personality come out.
Yeah.
So,
It's a lot.
Well,
It's a lot. It's a lot to think about. I like what you said about systems, and I was thinking that it's like, where is the world leading to with all the things happening? Maybe as you all think about that too, it's just like all these happenings, maybe nothing. Maybe it's just an ongoing cycle thing that just happens and happens, or is there indeed something like a change of some sort?
There has to
that's
be
on the way.
because recently, the new Burkina Faso's president and the 34-year-old captain who became the president, he said this about the terrorism in West Africa that's been running the whole continent. He said, we don't build weapons in Africa. We do not have a way or refinery to extract oil or any of our natural resources in the ground. Where did those people, where did they get the money to go buy those weapons? And they have a powerful weapon and equipment than the actual national army. How did that happen? Because
somebody's making money off of it.
you are preventing a sovereign country to buy weapons and to arm themselves to prevent any foreign or domestic threat against them, but you are giving access to those terrorists who are terrorizing the whole continent, committing crazy crime, but you are allowing them access to buy those heavy machine guns and all these things. And when he was saying in his speech, I listened to it, I was like, man, that's really deep. If we all can ask ourselves that question, maybe we can find a way to put an end to that, because whoever is benefiting from that, because somebody has to give, there's whole transaction that's happening.
Yeah.
See, and whoever is giving, that's who we have to find and put a stop to that. But
remember that one book you referred to me to read? It was something economy.
Yeah.
That book explains everything. Why all this is happening. Money.
You should send me the title.
You still have the title of the book?
I'd be interested.
Yeah,
to look
I'm
at it.
trying to look for it. Actually, I'm trying to look for
Oh,
it.
you still have the book?
I have.
So what about like this Bitcoin and this and that? Isn't
What
that like a big thing?
What
It's the
happened to it?
future or what? I don't know.
Wait,
Uncle T.
Just don't pay attention to it.
crypto is back to more than 30,000 now. So that's good.
So
yeah,
I
I've
guess,
lost money into that. So
will money change? Is there like, is it always going to be money stuff, or like what's going to happen? What's in the future?
So
What's coming up?
yeah,
Anything, or we just move the way
we're just moving the way we are moving.
So it's really sad though. Like I
It
mean, as you were
really is.
describing the last situation, civilians always suffer.
Because my thing is like they created for a reason.
Okay.
And because we are the one who lost.
The book is called The New Confessions of an Economic Hitman.
Yes.
Oh, so you know the book.
It was a recommended book in my international studies course.
Wow.
Robert-
Yeah, he referred to
Rob
he
Prince. If you see this, Rob Prince was a professor. I think it was his class that he recommended it.
Did you ever read it?
I did, but it's been a long time. I need to read it again.
Yeah, he's the one that recommended it to me, and it's very interesting.
It's probably at the garage at my parents' place, like locked up in boxes.
In the
So I'm gonna go
boxes.
look for it.
Yeah.
Actually, like next time I'm with my parents, I want to go look
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah, he explains what happens behind the scene, and it makes sense when you see what's happening right now. Also, the Panama Papers, I don't know if you ever read it.
Bro.
The Panama
Heard of it.
Papers
The way
is
they buried that story.
No. The Panama Papers, not the recent one.
Okay.
Not the recent one. So there was another one. It was the same. So it was just talking about the corrupt leaders, and
Okay.
there was another one that was leaked. Other documents that were leaked, and that's when I don't know if you remember. It was Instagram
Okay.
and WhatsApp and Facebook went offline for
3 days. Like I
I
remember.
don't know for how long, because
Mm,
Recently
that
Yeah.
story had
Yeah.
just broke out. The only thing that was active was Twitter. Now does that make sense?
it makes sense.
Like when that was leaked,
Okay.
when that story, like those documents were leaked,
everyone was furious why the
like
social media were not working.
within few minutes.
They didn't want people to.
They
Okay.
shut
Within
it
few
down.
minutes,
Huh.
all of a sudden,
Everything went dark.
Facebook,
What
Instagram, and WhatsApp, and those things are owned by one person.
Got you. Oh.
Shut down,
Got you. So
and then
switch on.
and then
Yep.
the focus was shifted
Huh.
away from the documents being.
It was
leaked.
why did the social media shut down? Twitter, Facebook, what's happening? Like it was more like people were mad on Facebook with what's his name, Mark Zuckerberg, for his technical team not being able.
Nah, they did it on
It was
purpose.
never about the leak. And when they came back, no one mentioned the leak.
As y'all are talking, I'm just like, how do we hold them accountable?
We can't because we don't have their money.
But
Yeah.
we live in a country that is a democracy, so
It sounds
And-
good on paper.
okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there's more democracy here?
Oh, of course.
And okay,
Yeah, of course.
do we have room to like?
Us?
Not
No, I mean
but
us as a middle,
as humans,
as a middle class everyday people, or because there is a different level of our money talk.
Okay,
The way our money talk is not the same way it talks out
makes
there.
zero noise.
It
So
makes-
I feel like to Spani's point.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But our brains and we have
No,
voices.
so that's
Do we
what I
need
was about
money?
to say. That's what I was about to say. That's
Yeah.
what I was about to say. So to Spani's point, for instance, what happened with Facebook?
Yeah.
What happened with Facebook?
Mhm.
We have the power not to support it.
True.
The only reason it's functioning is because we're supporting it.
Yeah.
And that goes to other big corporations.
Yeah.
But then the thing I don't like about democracy is if us three were to decide, like, you know what, we're gonna protest and boycott this, and like, yeah, you guys do that. I'm gonna go this way. You can't force me to do it.
Yeah.
So it's gonna take a long time to convince me why this is the right thing to do.
For sure.
And if I'm benefiting from it financially, then that's another level of convincing me again to
So let's pay everyone to vote.
pay.
Pay people to vote. I just made that up.
You can't pay. I can't eat the money and not vote.
But it has to be proven that you vote.
And
So that you
You
gotta
bring
prove that
up
you
the
vote,
vote?
and then you get $3 million. No need for car wash.
I'm telling you. It's funny. Since you are on this social media topic, have you watched this movie called Social Media?
I have not.
You have
Did,
not. It's on. I don't know if it's still on Netflix.
Is it social media or social dilemma?
Social
I might have
dilemma.
that. Is that
I think
about
has
how,
Facebook control people.
yeah.
Social dilemma.
Dilemma.
Social dilemma. I think I did see that when it first came out or such. Like, yeah.
Yeah. When I watched it, I was like, "Oh man!" And how the creator were talking about like those people, the mastermind behind it, they don't let their own kids use
Makes sense.
the platform. And I was like, very interesting.
Yeah.
Because they know the outcome of this product they're feeding us. That's why they did not want their own kids
Yeah,
to
for
be
sure.
part of it.
Well, in addition to that, too, you remind me of like news talks about TikTok and this and that. It's like there's so much to that. We
Yeah.
just don't know. As we know more, we know less, and
It's crazy.
And
Well,
by the
let's
statistically,
get this. Let's get deeper.
statistically, since 2010, which is the year like social
Social
media, Facebook,
MySpace disappear
suicide rate among young people or overall
when
increased
Skyrocket.
dramatically.
not good.
Not good.
okay.
And majority of suicides are done by gunshots.
Now you want to talk about gun ownership and stuff?
Okay.
I did that on purpose because he want everybody to own guns.
You do. I mean, respect. If
Oh, no, I don't
I
have
didn't-
anything
I
wrong
didn't
with
say
it. The way he's talk about
everybody.
it,
I didn't
is
say
the way he's-
everybody.
the way he
He
talks
put
about it, I'm
everybody
like,
there.
somebody's paying this guy to talk like
No,
this.
the way he put everybody
who
there.
are your sponsors, you guys? I should have asked these questions before I agreed to this.
No,
I know I was supposed to be here 2 years ago, but who are your sponsors, sir?
I
I'm just
know.
NRA.
kidding.
NRA.
no, they're not. So here's my
Of course,
thing.
you're not gonna
I've
say yes.
said this. I've
You're not
said
gonna say yes. It's okay. One
I've
day
said
when I
this.
find out that they're paying you, I'm suing you for half of it.
no, they're not. So I've said this. I've said we have to live in the society where we have to be able to adapt
Mm,
to the environment we lived in.
mm,
Because recently, a Congolese brother that we lost,
mm.
it was due to the same situation. This time he was stabbed in a bad neighborhood, just close to where you we talk about the community you serve, close to that area. He was stabbed. And that's what I said, like, if you're going to be outside or come home late at night, make sure if you are living into that environment, make sure you have to be able to match the lifestyle of that environment. Because
in
if
order
you
to protect yourself.
exactly, that's what I said. That if you don't want to do that, make sure you also move out of that environment, live where you will not need the peace.
Let me ask you a
You
question.
can afford it.
Let
If
me
you can afford it,
let me
yes.
ask you a question.
Mhm.
Do you live in the neighborhood where you feel like you need a peace? Just a question.
Do you live in a city or state or nation? I'm just adding to your question.
He's saying a neighborhood. He said neighborhood. So in the neighborhood that you live in, do you think you need a peace?
Did you cross the street over here?
No. It's a yes or a no question. Or you can explain it.
Yo,
I don't live here,
You
so
are.
I don't know.
But how much of this is... Yeah, go ahead.
the difference. You see the main road, Smoky Hill.
I did not. Oh, Smoky Hill?
Smoky Hill.
Yeah, okay.
On other side of Smoky Hill,
Yep.
it's if you live there, your pocket has to be deep.
Gotcha.
It's wealthy.
Mhm.
On this side,
I haven't been to this area in a long
this
time.
side,
I've only driven around. Uh-huh.
it's
Yeah.
so.
So you feel like you need a peace
I
because
feel like because of
you're not
the
living.
money that are there, with the amount of patrol cars
That
to
they-
prevent this neighborhood for,
Mm. Mhm.
I do not need it because the amount of cops we have in this neighborhood is crazy.
you don't
Really?
feel like you
Are
need
they
it.
very present?
Yes,
Gotcha. Is it?
You
what-
you
are
don't
we
need
in
it.
Aurora or
We are in
where
Aurora.
We're in Aurora, right?
Smoky Hill High School is right there.
Okay, got you.
I
Yes.
can
Oh,
walk
so
just wanted to make
to
sure
be
we
clear,
weren't
you
too
say
close
you
out.
don't need it. You've okay. No, that's all I wanted to know.
What I thought
Time.
you are very
I'm guessing we're
trickery.
going- we're going-
Okay,
we're
you
go-
got me today.
We're going
Okay,
2 hours total. That was going on.
you got me
Time,
today.
That one last.
You got me
Gotcha.
today. You got me today. So
I didn't get you. I just
I do-
asked a
I
question.
do. I just wanted to say this too. I think I respect what you're saying, and obviously we live in a country where that's legal, right? I respect what you're saying. But I always question too, how much of it, and I understand, I think the reality of it, and hearing just like, as you described, neighborhoods, and I also want to just say, like, why are the neighborhoods always like that, man? It's just like that street that divides it. So you're describing that feeling that you have. But how much of like what we're discussing and saying is just like elements, and it's just like, it's like an umbrella of, is it an umbrella of fear that's all across like the world? And is it those things that maybe have us have these conversations? And I understand you gave that example, like that brother that got stabbed, as you were saying, but that's also happening not just in that neighborhood. It's also happening, the shootings are happening in a lot of places.
Yeah.
As you said, the cases of suicide since 2010 with social media is happening everywhere, and it just feels like
domestic violence.
Domestic,
Like, if you guys own a gun and is in the safe, one is angry, they, gonna run right after, and those things are happening. Like those situations, domestic violence, are happening in the safer places.
Where there is, maybe, I'm just saying, they have the resources and all that, and it still happens. So like, I just feel like, like that magic wand thing too. It's just like, as collectively, as a city or state or what have you, it just feels like everyone just needs, everyone just like, I don't know, some kind of magic one, like, yo.
Yeah.
But, I know it's a lot deeper.
It's not realistic.
A lot deeper and
yeah,
more complex than that.
Way deeper. And
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, what we can do as African, as immigrant, we can go back home, build our country, our continent, our society to be better off than what we are experiencing.
Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce you.
Yeah, you could do it. You know what? I just have to comment and say this too. Like, I feel like this is a home for me. That may be a home where I came from. Yeah, I can still see it as that, and it is. But nah, America is my home.
Ladies and gentlemen,
this country. Yes, I'm a very.
Hold on.
Ladies and gentlemen,
hold on.
Marcus Garvey and Martin Luther King are arguing.
Get out of here. But I just want to say, I think we're very privileged to be in this country, right?
Yes,
Having come from Africa, and we stand on the shoulders of so many people that came before us to even allow to be speaking here, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think we also have that responsibility, right? I see us as privileged Africans here in this nation, as a nation that has gotten to where it is, how it got there, and of course Native Americans here too. So I think that when I'm saying, like, I feel like this is a home too, knowing that history, and I feel like we also have a responsibility.
Yes,
you know what I mean? Like, I hear what you're saying about let's do this. Like, I got you, but I want to also just, I think, maybe encourage and encourage and to at least think about, like, what you just said about doing that there. I also want you to feel like, if you're not, to be like, you could do that here too.
True.
And
Martin Luther King said, I belong here. Marcus Garvey said, we need to go back.
You cannot. You can't be both.
I'm saying both.
Exactly.
I'm saying both.
Yeah, I'm calling you Martin Luther King. I'm calling him Marcus Garvey.
And who are you? X?
Me? Nah, I'm just a humble servant. Also, before we let you go, I wanted to let you know and tell you, you are doing a great thing, great work.
Yes.
And I'm not saying because of something that I've seen. I'm saying it because of the impact it had in my life, personally had on my life. And I don't know how to thank you.
Us, a lot of people.
When I'm not speaking personally, I know a lot of people that have benefited from your work. And I really do appreciate you.
Yeah.
I never told you that, but I wanted to tell you in front of everybody.
Yeah, we thank you for that.
I do appreciate you.
Yeah, don't give up. It's a big calling. I think even though you want to go to UN, but God look at us like,
No, you
nah,
belong here.
you belong here. This
Exactly.
is what you have impacted so many lives. If you don't know that, you have changed perspective. A lot of youth. You have become a point of reference for a lot of us. Yeah, we really appreciate you. Keep going. Hopefully, this is not the end. Maybe get to a higher position, bigger.
Definitely.
You know that your community is here. We will always support you.
Definitely. And thank you guys so much for those words, for taking the time today. I'm proud of both of y'all.
Thank you.
And with that too, I do want to add, as y'all are speaking, we are going to continue doing the work at Street Fraternity. We have opportunities that are upcoming in this next year to 2 to 3. So I think collectively to share ideas and be more in consistent communication as much as we can. I will try to commit to that for this upcoming year. And thank y'all for your patience and having me on the show.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I could be here. Check it off, like this has been in mind for quite a while. So thank you both for being patient. And just with that, there's a lot of work out there that needs to get done with your passions, many others that are listening. So I look forward to staying in communication with you guys and with everything that we're doing at Street Frat. We have some exciting things that are upcoming in the next half a year to a year. So I look forward to spending more time with y'all and dreaming and making a difference.
Thank you. This has been a pleasure for this special episode with our big brother and mentor Yoal.
Joel. Yoel.
We want to thank you so much for taking the day time out of your busy schedule and come spend with us here the last couple hours and to talk. And thank you to all the viewer and listener of Nuki Podcast. We thank you. Thank you and see you again.
Thank you.
Peace.